Welcome to the game of Rocket League and the School of Sharks. So you've either decided to play on your own or you've been coerced by a friend, but yet here you are. This car-based soccer game is easy to pick up and hard to master. The core concept is simple: put the ball in your opponent's net. The execution, varying levels of difficult. There are casual modes, ranked modes, and even extra modes. For the most part, the game does not have random elements, so the gameplay is deterministic and reproducible. This tutorial is for your first introduction to the game of Rocket League. It is targeted at those that are absolutely brand new to the game or within their first couple days of playing. You will learn a basic understanding of how to set up your camera, controls, and how to get started playing. I have decided to structure this video into 4 sections: settings, basic movement, basic plus movement, and ball interaction. By the end of this tutorial, you should hopefully be able to get in, drive around, fly, and even hit the ball in a way that makes sense to you. So let's get to it. After you get through the in-game tutorial, the first thing we are going to do is go into the options and change some settings. First up are the camera settings. Turn off camera shake. I repeat, turn off camera shake. Here on screen you can see the rest of my settings, but the most important thing is to turn up your field of view all the way. This will increase the amount of field that you can see at any given time. My advice is to find a pro player settings that you like and play around with it. You'll find what you like in time. Next up are the controls. Just as a small disclaimer, the settings I play with are slightly different from what the professionals use. But they are mostly the same, and I feel they will help you regardless, as they are what I use in high-level gameplay. The button combinations I will mention are specific to the PlayStation controller, but don't worry because equivalent buttons exist on the other platforms. Head on over to the bindings, and the first one to find is Powerslide, and bind that to L1. Next, we will find air roll left and air roll right, and bind L1 to air roll left and R1 to air roll right. This is it for the bindings that we need to change. I know I have skipped over a wide range of options, but I wanted to condense this down into the most important settings to change in the beginning. Feel free to play around with the settings as you learn what each of them can do, but now it is time to hit the pitch in free play. Now that we're here, let's just get the hang of driving around using R2 and the left stick. You can use the right stick to move the camera around, and L2 to back up. All car controls will be from a frame of reference from the car, not the camera. This means that if you're driving away from the ball, left is right and right is left. This also holds true if your car is upside down. As we start to get comfortable, we can start to explore the arena and drive on the walls. We can drive all around the place, so it's nice to get familiar with the layout. First up in the controls that I will introduce is ball cam, which is triangle on the PlayStation controller. This button will toggle whether the camera looks straight ahead from your car or it will look at the ball. I recommend leaving this on 95% of the time, as you will get most of the information you need while using it. Next we have Powerslide. Earlier I had you bind that to L1, so as we go through a turn and begin to press the button, you will see your turn get sharper. Powerslide is more effective the slower you are going, and will become more useful as you get better at the game. Now we will get into Boost. On your controller, this will be the circle button. Boost is a consumable resource that allows you to go fast and even fly through the air. In the bottom right of your screen, you will see how much boost you have, ranging from 0 to 100. On the field, you'll find glowing pads in 2 sizes, big and small. Big boost pads will completely fill your boost meter, while the small ones will give you 12. Enough about boost. Let's get into jumping. The X button on your controller is the jump button. The longer you hold it down, the higher you will jump. When you are in the air, your left stick will move the car in various ways. Pulling down on the stick will tilt the car back, and pushing up on the stick will tilt it forward. Left and right will yaw the car in those directions. Play around with this concept, as it will be important later in this tutorial. Now that we can jump, it is time to introduce double jump. After executing one jump, you can press the button again and jump straight up. Being able to do a neutral double jump helps your car gain height when trying to reach a ball that might be over your head. Your second jump does have a limit of 1.5 seconds before you lose it though. I just mentioned that a neutral second jump means you go straight up. But if you push your left stick in a direction when you press jump that second time, your car will actually do a flip, also called a dodge. This type of flip you do is dependent on the direction you push that stick. At a basic level, there are front flips, backflips, side flips, and diagonal flips. You can use front and diagonal flips to gain speed while moving about the field. This is also an easy and free way to get up to supersonic speed without using boost. Since we have a very basic understanding of movement, let's pick up the pace a little bit. As you boost and gain speed, eventually you will reach supersonic speed. This will be indicated by the glowing effect on the ground behind your tires. Once you reach supersonic speed, you no longer need to use boost to keep your speed and momentum while driving in a straight line. Try not to immediately use all of your boost, as you need a fair amount to get up to supersonic. You will lose speed when turning, so you may need to use some boost to get back up to supersonic. You might be asking yourself, sure, I can go fast, but how do I fly? That is a good question, so let's finally address that. First off, begin by jumping and pulling back on the stick until our nose points towards the ceiling. Just practice this a little so we can get the hang of it before we add boost. Boosting upwards will eventually fly us up to the ceiling. Do this a few times and you'll begin to see how these work together. So jump, pull back, and boost. As it stands, this is the least efficient method, but you can get an idea of how it works. Once we are comfortable with this, we can start to modify it to fly in different directions. As you can already guess, the most common direction you'll be flying is forwards, so let's work on that. Begin by turning off ball cam and driving to midfield. Line up the aerial first to make it easier for yourself. From here, we will jump, pull back 45 degrees, and use boost to fly towards the goal. It doesn't matter how you land, just that you get there without touching the ground. Start from the center of the field so you don't have to do much adjustment to the left and right, only up and down. Just like any building block, once you are comfortable, begin to increase the distance. Add distance in small increments so that you can get the hang of it without adding too much. Eventually, you should be able to start all the way at one goal and fly to the other. Next, we will aim for a specific location on the field as a target. This is a step up in difficulty as we are trying to aerial to a specific place. We will start at our goal and aim for the wall above the opposite goal. This is a common place you may find the ball, so while you should not be flying all the way across the field, this exercise is something you need in your toolbox. At this point in time, it doesn't matter where above the goal you hit, just that it is above the goal. As always, practice each step before moving on to the next one. Now that we have across the field flight, it is time to add in a little left and right movement too. As you continue with this drill, move your takeoff point further from the center of the field. This will force you to adjust, but also give you plenty of time. Practice this as many times as you need to, as you will most likely encounter those blackout type moments where you completely lose all control. The last bit of movement that I would like to get into is how to jump off of the walls. Here is where we will use our air roll left and right that I had you bind earlier in the video. Start off by driving up the wall, jump off, and air roll back towards the wall to right yourself. This should be relatively easy to perform, but it is a crucial stepping stone towards flying off the wall. After righting yourself, you can add in boost and you will find that it is much easier to fly now that you are in a known orientation. So we've gotten through settings, a ton of movement, and flying. Hopefully you've stuck it out this far, because now we're going to get into hitting the ball. Interactions with the ball may seem random at first, but I assure you they are not. If you see something crazy, it just means that some setup exists to recreate that. Now it is up to you to perform it. Every car has a hitbox, which fits into one of 6 categories. This hitbox is the game's way of determining whether you are in contact with something, whether that is the ground, the ball, or another player. While the bounding box of a car is a rectangle, it does not explain how your car interacts with the ball. The best way to describe it is to think of your car as a sphere as well. If you hit the ball off-center, the ball will move away from that axis. This works in all 3 dimensions, as you can see while I balance the ball on top of my car. The last thing I'll point out is that as you drive around, notice that the position of the ball has an indicator on the ground. That indicator will be especially helpful if the ball goes over your head and you need to keep track of it. At this point, you should have a nice collection of skills to work on to elevate your game. As a review, we've gone over settings, basic movement, basic plus movement, and ball interaction. If you need to, go back and watch any section for review. You might be asking, where do I go from here? And my suggestion is to just go play and have fun. Lastly, check out the Rocket League Championship Series to watch the pros and see what is possible within this game. The skill ceiling is incredibly high, but given enough time and practice, anyone can make it happen. If you enjoyed this tutorial, let me know down in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to make sure that you don't miss a video. Lastly, I stream on Twitch over at twitch.tv/NinjaGloppy. Have a good rest of your day, and thanks for swimming with the School of Sharks.